Number 2 says, JT wants to use a more appropriate transition in sentence 11. Which of the following can best replace furthermore in this sentence? All right. So they're saying we need a more appropriate transition for sentence 11. If they're saying they need a more appropriate, that means that the one that we have already doesn't work. So we're trying to replace furthermore. Okay? The keyword here is replace. Okay? Now, let's think about furthermore and what it means. I had students tell me furthermore means to add on. They also said something like, they gave me like a synonym to it, like in addition. Right, so we know that when we use furthermore, we're adding on, right? And we know furthermore doesn't work, right? So this leads us to our next tip, our next little trick. Here they go for your notes. Here's your next set of notes. You need to take a picture or something so you can have more time to copy it down. You can do that. Here you go. I'm also showing you the top part just in case you missed a section. So for replace questions, that's what I told you guys, keyword replace. When you're asked to replace, make sure you don't choose an answer that means the same thing as the word you're replacing. So common sense logic tells us, if they're telling us furthermore doesn't work, I need to make sure I don't choose another answer choice that means the exact same thing as furthermore. All right? Let's take a look at tip number 2. If you have 2 or more answer choices that mean the same thing, eliminate them. All right? Common sense logic again. Here we go. Think about it. We can only have one right answer. So if they give you 2, 3 answer choices that mean the same thing, that would be saying, let's say A and B mean the same thing. If I choose A, that means B can also be right. And if I choose B, that means A can also be right. That can't work. We can only have one right answer. So if you see 2 answers that mean the same thing, don't even worry about them. Just eliminate those because you know that's not going to be your answer. They're just there to trick you. Okay? So now, let's take a look at the question a little closer. Here we go. All right. Can you see that? Yes. So, here, let's think about what these transitions mean. When we think about, for example, and what it means, we might be like, for example, usually we'll use, for example, when we're trying to share maybe evidence, or if we're trying to emphasize a point, maybe, right? So let's look at the next one. In conclusion is, maybe I've heard students tell me, like when they say they use it at the end, usually will be like when in the conclusion, last paragraph. We know it has to do with maybe summing up, right? This is the symbol for paragraph. Like to sum up. Now look at this one. Overall. We're not talking about the ones you wear. We're talking about overall, like the transition. When would we use overall? If you're thinking at the end and that it does pretty much the same thing as what in conclusion does, you're right. They're very similar, right? They both kind of like sum up, use it at the end. So we have two answers that are synonymous to each other. They essentially mean the same thing. So what are we going to do here? I'm going to eliminate those right away. We haven't even looked at sentence 11 yet, but we already made it easier. We increased our chances of getting the question right. Now we're going in, looking at sentence 11 with a 50% chance of getting the question right. Okay? Let's think about instead. What does instead mean? We can think about instead maybe when like replacement, maybe substitute, an idea, right? Maybe when you're thinking about an alternative, right? When you're trying to say something, not this, but in reality this, but actually this, not this, but this, right? So we need to make sure we fully understand the transitions, what their purpose is, what they do, what they're for, what they mean, before we go into that sentence and see which one we're going to use. Because if you don't know what they do or what they're for, you're going to be guessing. Okay? So, since it is a transition, we need to read from the sentence before so that we can see what we're transitioning from, right? So we're going to start reading from sentence 10, leading into sentence 11. All right? Here we go. And let me highlight the sentence so you guys can see it a little better. Okay. I'm also going to delete furthermore from here because I already know it's wrong and I don't want it to confuse me. So now, sentence 10. There are no musical cues for the students to use as they march in the changing formations. They walk in perfect step by following the direction of an announcer. Okay, so now we gotta think. Are we trying to provide evidence or emphasize that they don't use musical cues? Or are we trying to say they don't use musical cues, but they actually do this instead? Right? So if you pay close attention, we'll see. It says no musical cues. They don't use musical cues, but in reality, instead, they walk in perfect step by following the direction of an announcer. So here we would see that they're saying it's not this, but this. So the best answer here would be J. Okay. Let's take a look at question